Dr. Sudha Srikanth. She's a doctorate in human development. They moved from Bombay to Tirupati and now to Bangalore.
Feel that we are the richest couple in the whole world. So I do all the dreaming.
I take care of the finances.
That is the right roles that you guys played, right?
The dreams are different when you're 50. The dreams are very different when you're 55. As you evolve as a human being, those dreams evolve. And in today's world, the closer you are to 50, 60, the greater the chances that somebody will tell you can sit at home. You're not required anymore.
Like school kids leaving at 8 o'clock, both of us with our backpack, we go to office.
Welcome back to our podcast today, and we have some very special guests. Dr. Sudha Srikanth, who I've known for quite some time now. She's a doctorate in human development. She's an expert in emotional intelligence counseling and coaching. She's been part of helping my son manage his emotions as he was navigating through his journey in sports. So that's how I've come to know of Sudha ma'am and Srikanth sir. So he's been with corporate for close to 30 years, now 38 years, 30 years in corporates. His last held job was with IBM. And in the last 8 years, he is with the social sector. He likes to call it the development sector. So their story has been such a big inspiration for me to see how they've transitioned from being corporate employees, from working in a high pressure job, to moving on to they moved cities. They moved from Bombay to Tirupati and now to Bangalore. And the kind of impact work that they've been doing, I'll let them talk more about it. So thank you so much, Sudha ma'am and Srikanth sir, for coming on this
Thank
show.
you.
And I really appreciate you taking this time off. And can you give us a very quick background about what your life was before you made this transition?
Okay. Firstly, heartfelt gratitude, Bhuvana, to you and the team of House of Alpha for inviting us over. We would really love to talk about our journey, and the reason I call it our journey is because it turned out to be a couple goal.
Wow.
And something that in the last 30 plus years that we've been married, we thought that our interests were North Pole, South Pole.
Okay.
But finally, when, a decision like this to serve for the society came forth, then both of us were aligned. We made it a couple goal. And today, every moment we live, we cherish, we are happy, contented, and feel that we are the richest couple in the whole world.
Very good. Nice. Okay. So that's really glad to hear. So, but what has it been like? I mean, where have you been working? What has been your background? If you can just let us know that you were at one point people like us, so
Yes.
and then made that transition.
Yeah. So we still continue to be that way, I think, as people, as human beings. It's just that in the year 2020, we took this decision to relocate. And the relocation happened more because it was an inner calling, come to Tirupati. It was just an inner calling which we paid heed to what what was a gut feeling, or a sort of a flash epiphany, you can say. So not really debating much. Fortunately, both of us, we just had talk and we moved to Tirupati, not knowing what is ahead. He got in touch, Srikanth got in touch with the founder of Navjivan Blind Relief Center, Dr. K. Sridhar Acharya, who is the president of WADI for social work. It so happens that my parents were donors for the organization for a long time, almost 25 odd years. And we didn't want to start another establishment at Tirupati. So we were looking at an opportunity to just serve. That's it. And what we are going to do, how long we're going to be there, we had no idea at all. And very fortunate during COVID times, that's when Sir welcomed us. And he said, you're welcome to stay here as long as you want. You see what you can do. That's how our journey began. We're at Navjivan, which takes care of senior citizens. There's an eye hospital, school for the blind, hostel for the blind, hostel for poor and orphan children. There's a Goshala. There is a temple too, Anjaneya temple also. So everything within this campus, we just started exploring what we could do over there. It started off as first initially interacting with the children there, then finding out what's missing, which was a library. So we helped set up a library there. Finally, that expanded to getting a digital literacy center there with the help of Enable India. And of course, Srikant's contacts with the IT companies, which helped in procuring laptops and setting up the center, which we did, the Navjivan Parivartan Center, where visually impaired individuals trained in digital literacy, communication skills, mobility, employability to make them employable.
So this is fantastic. So where you've moved into, so I can see that you've retired into something, but I also want to know what you retired from.
If I can add here,
Yeah.
we've not retired. We continue to work in a different space. Personally, this word retired sounds as if, you finished all your work. As they say, you hang up your boots. We've not hung up boots, and at the current time, as we speak, I don't think we have any intent of hanging up boots. Okay?
That's quite
But that's
interesting
not
because retirement as a word, different people seem to give it different meanings, right?
correct. Having said that, the journey for what Sudha just mentioned about moving to Tirupati and then on, whatever work we are doing, is actually a journey that we had planned nearly 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I have turned 60 this year. This planning started when I was 40. Those were decisions that we took as a family. Then we played a part. So each of us decided to play a part to be able to accomplish what we had in mind. But to be fair, when we started, I don't think any of us had an idea that this is what we will do. We knew that we wanted to do something outside of just working in the corporate world, 9 to 5, 9 to 8, whatever is the work line, etc., etc. But that's something that we were very clear. So there was a lot of exploration that I did. While if you go back to couple and family and all of that, there is one person who always continued to sustain the family in terms of running the house and so on.
Correct.
While the other person tried to, go explore, experiment,
Yeah.
fail sometimes.
Yeah.
So it allows you the comfort of failure before you then identify and say, okay, now we've sort of identified what we wish to do. That's a journey that we've taken. So while yes, today we can sit back and say, we are trying to do this, we are doing this together, etc., etc. But that's been a fairly long journey, as a journey which any couple or any family will go through at any point in time. But we had some very specific actions that we identified, we took, and we were not afraid of the fact that some of those actions may not be the perfect at that point in time, but we took them nevertheless. Today we are able to sit back and say, yeah, this made sense. What we did at that time was correct. That's the challenge of life, and that's fun.
Very quickly, to just answer your question, like he had a high stress job like marketing in IT companies, and of course IBM being his last, where he has been there for 8 years. For me, I was an entrepreneur. I ran Little Steps for 20 years. Little Steps is a daycare and nursery, which of course the daycare picked up a lot more. And that was in partnership with a friend of mine. As Srikant just said, we were very sure that when one person is taking the risk, the other person has to be stable.
Okay.
So when it started off with me becoming an entrepreneur, he had the stable job, the IT job. And when he got into the development sector, so that was a plunge downward in terms of finances. At that time, I had a stable job in a chain of preschools, with a chain of schools basically, which helped sustain and balance it out very well.
No, that's fantastic. So you said it so beautifully that each one has a role to play in this whole transition. So like how you rightly defined, when you chose to go entrepreneurship, he had a steady job, and when he wanted to explore, you had a more steadier career. I mean, you'd stabilized in your career or in your entrepreneurship. Did you wait for her to stabilize before you took the plunge? How did that happen?
So looking back, yes, maybe we said, okay, you go join this role, wait for 6 months or 8 months, and then we'll decide. But at the time when we were doing the action, I don't think there was any such thinking to say, oh, you have to stabilize. It's assumed that she would stabilize or I would stabilize. So I don't think that mattered at all. What did matter was the fact that like I said, 20 years ago, we decided that we will have no loans by the time I'm 50, which means irrespective of what you are trying to do, financially, that stability was crucial. So no car loan, no housing loan, no education loan, no holiday loan, nothing, zero. So that decision then drove a lot of other impact actions that we had to do. So
In the early years.
in the early years. Having said that, now
loan repayment and all that, did you plan to?
we planned the financial aspects in such a way that that would get taken care of. So financial stability became very crucial. And if I were to step back and say, what are two crucial aspects within coach retired? I will use the term, since you said retirement, I'll use the term loosely. But if you have to look at a career, or if you have to look at long-term path, then one of the key elements of that will be financial stability. I was just ruminating over what to have as a conversation. My grandparents had probably a lifespan of about 60, 65 years.
Right.
Okay? My parents had a lifespan of about 70, 75 years. And our lifespan, our age group and our children's lifespan will probably be close to 90.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, if you look at their working life,
Yes.
that's not changed.
No.
You continue to start working when you're 23, 25, that age group, and you work only till 60. There's nobody telling you that you can continue to work till after 60, and that's completely dependent on how you want to do, which means 50% of your life, not just working life, of your life is going to be spent based on funds that you've created in the first 30 years. Right? When you put that numbers into perspective, that means essentially what you are earning for 30 years, if you start working at 23, 25, and then work all the way through to 60, 30, 35 years, has to account for another 30 years in which there is zero income. So there's a lot of financial planning that is required. Initially, it may be you as an individual. If and when you decide to have a life partner, then the partner becomes involved. There will be other people in the family, your parents, your children, all of them will get involved. In my limited understanding, I think that's a very, very crucial component that you've put into the table first, and say, are you comfortable financially? Continue to lead a similar lifestyle, and we can talk about lifestyle in a bit, okay? Leading to a simpler or a stable lifestyle the way you are already doing, and accounting for the fact that as you grow older, your health is anyway going to give you more work to do, okay, than when you were 30, okay? Keeping that in mind and manage that finance. So once you get that, then I think you can then start talking about dreams and what you want to do together, where you want to go, da 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 da. But I think that's the first stick in the ground that people will need to look at if they are planning for something like this.
Okay. Interesting. So you're saying the first stick in the ground is get your finances in order before you even start dreaming.
It will be, right? So, for example, I have a couple of friends of mine who dream to travel. Okay.
So I do all the dreaming.
I take care of the finances.
That is the right roles that you guys played, right? When you said we play our right roles.
I have friends who wish to travel the world. That's the way they structure it. I have friends who say, look, I want to take a painting. They are not planning to go and put up their painting in a gallery and do all of that. But they want to paint. Some of them wish to go and work in an NGO like what we are doing. Okay. Some of them want to teach children. Some of them want to be associated with organizations in specific health areas, cancer and HIV and so on and so forth, right? Depending on what your interest.
It's just find your ikigai, purpose in life.
Again, one of the other things that I'd like to share is that finding that ikigai itself takes your time, because you have dreams. When you are 40, your dreams are different from the time when you are 45. The dreams are different when you are 50. The dreams are very different when you are 55. As you evolve as a human being, those dreams evolve.
How did they evolve for you?
So I started by wanting to be a teacher.
Okay. You wanted to be a teacher.
So when we talk about what I wanted to do, I wanted to have a second career, not as a paying career, but to keep my brains in order. Like I was telling another friend of mine, keep your brains working.
Right.
Whether you earn from it or not is a different discussion. That is besides the point. But you keep your brains working. Then you live. As they say in Hindi, sad jaoge, nahi to. You will rot. Okay, because you are intelligent. Every individual has their own intelligence, their own capability, their own capacity to do work. So I wanted to teach. But it took me 8 years to determine that I am incapable of meeting the requirements to be a full-time lecturer or a professor, which is they wanted people to be a doctoral degree holder, and there is no way I can do my doctorate.
You already have a teacher at home.
Yeah, so I saw her doing that, and I said, I cannot study like this. नहीं होगा हमसे. As I say in Hindi, औकात पता है मुझे. So you start realizing, when I said, what do you know when you're 45? You know your औकात, you know what you can do. More important, you know what you cannot do. For whatever reason, right? You have parents, you have children, you have your own health, all of that. You know कि भाई ये होगा मेरे से नहीं होगा. And then I had to switch track to say, okay, now my so-called fancy planning of saying, I want to teach will not applicable anymore.
Ah.
Because I cannot do my doctorate, therefore I cannot be a full-time trainer or a teacher. So I have to go back. So I had to reverse and then find areas that I could go and work in. And then came about disability and so on and so forth. That itself was another journey. But that's how you're able to structure. So
I would also like to add over here that when he took the step, let's say when he turned 52 and wanted to move from the corporate to a development sector, we took the children also into account because by then they were adults, they were 20, 21, close to graduation. We've always had, pretty open discussions and then, because so that they also realize that what the family is moving into, and this is out of choice and not under any pressure or stress. So this is something that Appa wants to explore, and this is something where we are going to continue to do this. There's going to be no major change in our lifestyles, but definitely exotic demands and all cannot be met, or we need to look through it. And only then it will be possible. Fortunately, I would say, like, even after he moved into the development sector, very major events have happened in the family, like, the weddings of our kids, their education.
So, I mean, you vigorously did shake to your head when he said, no, you don't have to work the finances first. What did you have in mind?
No, I only dream. So while he tries and goes through certain spaces, like how he said that he tried his teaching and other things, for me, it's been very clear that this is what I want to do, and I get it. I work towards it, I get it. I've not moved, like I'm a home scientist. My specialization is human development. So I have done things that get more and more super specialization with counseling and everything added to this, like emotional intelligence, and now the angle of even disability, which comes under the bracket of human development. So for me, it has honestly been quite a cakewalk, I would say.
Good, because the heavy lifting was done by him. In terms of finance, because you mentioned finances, and of course we are all financial planners, and Manoj, who's helped you with your finances as a dear friend, God bless his soul. What role did a financial planner play in this whole journey of yours?
The sentence I will say is Manoj and his team were, are, and will continue to be probably 99% of what we are today from a financial strength standpoint. The trust is complete. It's almost as if, and I can go back and give stories about what Manoj and his team have put the structure together. Yes, obviously we play a role to find out whether the structure is correct or not, what your financial goals are, but how you achieve them, there is a method. You review the method, and then there is no looking back. I remember stories of Manoj coming and saying, why on earth do you need so much cash in hand? To the extent that, there was times when, as late as when the children were, in their 9th and 10th standard and going towards college, when we would wind up the month with 1K in hand. Okay. Yeah. And I've gone to Manoj and said, if there is a problem, you are responsible. Okay? That's the stand. That's Manoj, and may not, I don't know whether all financial planners will do that with their customers and will do it with all customers. I don't know. But we were very, very, very fortunate in having that solid backing from that team. Having said that, it's very crucial that you comprehend what they are trying to tell you. It is not a tick in the box. It's your life. It's what they are only helping you navigate this process called fixed deposits and mutual funds and PPF and equity and whatever else that you have in the financial ecosystem. They're only helping you navigate. The decision is still yours.
Correct.
You are still the master of the Katputli. All the others are only you have the strings in your hand. Yes, they are co-masters as they are co-Katputli managers. Okay, but the final string is yours.
Yeah,
And that's the power that therefore there is work that you have to do.
that is work that.
And therefore, by going through a financial consultant, you minimize the risk, especially when you trust the financial consultant, you minimize the risk that you have. But at the same time, you give away some of that responsibility to do.
Mm,
Okay, to say, do you track the mutual funds? Do you know whether it's going up or down? What is the NPV? What is the growth rate? Da, da, da. All of that you have to sit and do.
mm,
So that activity you are passing on to people who are experts.
mm, mm.
But that doesn't remove you from saying, I don't understand.
Or taking the onus.
Yeah. So the ownership is still yours.
No, there are a lot of people who think that they could do it themselves. So manage your finances. It's not big. It's not a big deal. And, you can always get information from Google. There are influencers who give away a lot of this knowledge for free. So,
Which is, yes, good and bad. If I were to say, for example, you are a financial consultant, right? So will you manage your own finances?
not a good job of it, possibly.
So therefore, you depend on people who are experts
Mm,
in some places. Or, for example, rather crude example, why do you go to a doctor? You may not go to a doctor if you have fever for one day.
mm,
You will take a Crocin or a Dolo or whatever and see what happens, right? But if you have a major illness, you have a pain which is not going away,
mm,
okay? Or the doctor says conduct a particular test and see what happens, then I will explore, right? Those are things you are not going to be able to do. You need medical help. Why can you not do it on Google search? It's not very complex. Like, for example, we had a family doctor of ours who mentioned once and said, if all fever can go away by taking 4 Crocins a day, then I will not study MBBS no, for 5 years. If all of us can become excellent financial planners and consultants, then we will not have a CA, we will not have an FCA, all of those studies, right? There is a particular purpose in doing all of that.
mm,
And if you think, and again, this is very individual, right? I believe it is important. Somebody else may say, no, I have enough knowledge from this to do it myself. It's okay, which is not wrong by itself, but it depends on how you want to structure it. So today, if I can, Sudha and I can sit down and say, okay, we want to go to Tirupati, we don't mind, let's go to Shillong, let's go here, let's go there. I know there is a backup team which is ensuring that my finances are stable. Personally, I'm not applying my mind, and I know, so both of us together, we apply our mind, we know where we are going, but we are not applying our mind to the extent that we ought to, because there is a dedicated team which is doing that for me. If I were to do it, or if Sudha were to do it, or both of us together were to do it, then
There'll be more stress also.
there will be more stress. We'll look over our shoulder and say, यार आज ये खरीद रहे हैं, ये करना है क्या अभी, क्यों करना है? It's a tricky involvement.
mm,
I know friends of mine who say, no, chill, I can do everything myself, and they're doing very well. They probably have a higher corpus than what I do, or what we do rather as a family.
But I don't think
Yeah.
that matters.
But that doesn't
That's
matter.
good on them, I would say.
Happy for them. They are doing things which they wish to do. We are doing things which we wish to do.
We like to travel, so we decide like that we'll travel maybe once a year or once in 2 years. We'll go to destinations
okay.
which are new.
Okay.
And time and so on. So that's our goal. Others may have a very different goal, which is completely fine. So the financial planner, to answer your question again, plays a very critical role, but depending on how much you want to give that criticality, because it is tricky.
Because of how critical it might be for you, right? So,
Yes. So for like if I use the same medical example, right? When you are 40, when you are 45, you'll say, yeah, doctor ke paas, theek hai na. If I get hurt, if I get injured, then I'll go. Otherwise, Crocin, Vicks se kaam chala lenge. But when you're 55, when you're 60, when you have to do a BP test, when you have to do a cardiogram, you can't do a cardiogram at home. You have to go to a doctor, you have to go to a specialist, you have to go to somebody to do a cardiogram. I can learn to do a cardiogram is what? 4 tubes to be stuck in different places. Okay. That's what Google will tell me.
yeah, yeah.
But then how do I read a cardiogram? How do I read an ECG sheet of paper, okay, to say whether it is correct or not? And so on. So then you do go to an expert. But the question in a financial plan is, if you go to an expert when you're 60, there's only so much the expert can do for you. If you go to an expert when you're 25 and when you're 30, the expert can do a lot more with you. And like I always say, the power of compounding will happen only when the financial consultant knows what is your goal in life. Just as how you go to a dietitian, you go to a doctor, keep a doctor in track and say, this is what I'm going through. So the doctor is aware of your medical condition. As Simple as that.
So when we knew that, okay, finances are in place now, like we can just do without feeling guilty, without feeling, oh, whether there is enough, we'll just do what we really want to do. And everything fell in place. Every next day is just getting better, I would say, because we are involved more and more in the projects that we are doing in the disability space. We end up working much more than I think 8 or 10 hours a day. That's because we are not looking at it as work. We are looking at it as passion. We want to do somehow from somewhere there is that energy also that is supporting us. And children are with us in our journey.
Are refired, not retired, which is
Exactly. Absolutely. You use the term
Absolutely. Good.
correctly.
So that goes into our vocabulary. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So we are doing some programs called Alpha Refinement programs, helping people transition into retirement, refinement. So the idea is to say refire, don't retire. One important aspect Srikanth was mentioning was on the mental acuity, being aligned, being alert. I mean, you've done work on mental health. You did a session for us on mental health during the lockdown also. We see this very often with people who've been working very hard, who've been like working very high pressure jobs, and suddenly they have nothing to do. They become very bored, uninspired, and a shadow of themselves, right? So what do you do to remain mentally alert? I know your work probably does keep you very alert and needing you to keep constantly innovating and reinventing. But apart from that, what are things that keeps you mentally alert?
Okay, I'll just start with this a very interesting, cue that you have given. Srikanth himself, where before we got into the couple goal, if anyone would ask him, so how's life? He would say, surviving,
Oh,
chalta hai.
okay.
But today, if anyone asks him that question, his answer will be different.
What is it now?
It's fun.
It's fun. Okay. Life is fun.
It's a dream.
Now, this is a possibility, guys, for everyone who's listening to this, where you are 60 and you're saying life is fun. Okay, and listen to the rest of this to know how he made that happen.
So going back to what you said, a lot of people have high pressure jobs. And when they want to move into a refired or retired area, it's like a car going at 100 kilometers an hour on a highway and you jam the brakes and you don't know what to do.
No, you're thrown out of gear completely, right? Yeah.
Okay. So yes, you have an airbag which saves you, which means you are living.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So instead, on the same highway, if you stop by at the nearest food court, have a meal, look at the atmosphere, play in the rain if you wish to, petrol pump, pick up a packet of chips. The journey is different.
See, this is all, transition that has happened, over the last few years. So you know where it's all rubbed from, no?
Yeah.
So you break the journey, so like I said earlier, the planning for the second inning, the planning for a refired stage doesn't start when you're 55, doesn't start when you're 60. It starts when you're 40. There are people who say you start when it is 35. So you play, you explore. So there are people who like to play the band. So go play the band over a weekend. Play the band over once in 2 weekends, once a month. There are friends of mine who do theater and they've been doing theater throughout their career. Do they earn from the theater? I don't know. But they're very enthusiastic. That's what they live for, literally, right? That's what is driving them. The work happens, right? So be it. I earn something in life, but the theater is what drives them. So the passion comes out, so they're healthy.
Working with the Go Green projects, or, if you're very fond of animals, then do something for the welfare of the animals. Or if you like photography, take up photography and just skill yourself up. Not to earn something, but just because it's been your passion, you want to explore it. You work at your own pace. There is no exam.
And you're perfectly fine if you say, I don't want to do something. And these are all learnings, right? So today you will say, oh, I am a great painter. This is exactly what I want to do. After about 5 years or 7 years, you'll say, yaar, maja nahi aa raha hai. Every time I'm painting only landscape, I want to do some photographic painting or, whatever. I want to go into wildlife and paint. That's a different skill. It's painting, but skills are different. You may want to start singing. You may start from moving from singing classical to moving to singing Bollywood or vice versa. You may want to play a musical instrument. You may want to be a part of a small band. So we know people who sing over the weekends. Every weekend they sing whatever, 5, 7, 10 songs, put it on YouTube and have a gala time. They all meet together, have a dinner, sing, and go back. So it gives you that energy to sustain. Now, these are things that will evolve. Like what my evolution was, teaching is not great, but disability is. Teaching for disability is great. You refine the as you go along, you learn. But that's what happens when you have time. And you start doing this when you're 55, you're always looking over your shoulder and say, यार 57 हो गया, अभी तक I have not done anything, अभी तक कुछ पता नहीं चला. We are stuck. अभी 60 में रिटायर हो जाएगा तो क्या करूंगा? And in today's world, the closer you are to 50, 60, the greater the chances that somebody will tell you you can sit at home. You're not required anymore. And that's organization. That's their capitalistic market. It's not wrong. You may feel wrong because you're suddenly left high and dry. How do you structure that? So you create your own. I know friends of mine who do a lot of temple visits. They go to the temple to see the architecture. While they go to pray, etc., etc. They also do a lot of work on the architecture. So they write short stories on architecture. Not because somebody has to read them and they have to compile it into a book, but they just feel like writing. They spend 3 hours a day writing.
I've started gardening.
It keeps the mind very alert, right?
So the idea is your mind is alert. If your mind is alert, your health is better.
Yes.
If your health is better, then going back to financial planning, you're not using up your corpus to pay for your health, but instead to pay for your fun. So you go and do that. That's exactly what we've been trying to do.
Superb, man, this is amazing. And Sudha ma'am is saying gardening, I think that keeps you really healthy, right? You're in touch with the soil, in touch with nature, you become one with it. So how has that been going for you?
Well, it all happened with our move from Tirupati to Bangalore. So again, I was very clear that I don't want to get into full-fledged running a family, setting up home, buying things. Fortunately, again, I think this has been a blessing and, universe just listening to whatever we wanted. We got a house which is fully furnished on rent. There is a terrace. So we thought, let's just, start a terrace garden. So it started off with 3 pots. Now it has become 60 pots.
Wow. Okay. What all are you growing?
There are multiple things, flowering plants, palm, tomatoes, okra, mint, chilies, quite a lot of varieties.
So greens and those little plants, right? So,
Yeah. And that morning time, just listening to the birds, it's a treat. So either it's an auditory treat combined with a visual treat in the morning. And that's how the day begins. Of course, calls from children and then like school kids leaving at 8 o'clock, both of us with our backpack, we go to office. Both of us work in the same place with Enable India. So we are both consultants.
Were there any specific challenges that you faced in this whole transition, or is there anything that you think you could have done better?
No, I think we've done well. We've done well.
Okay. Just to add to what he's saying, it was a very conscious decision that we get into minimalistic living. So we were very clear that we are not going to add on anything to what is already there offered by our landlords here. But for our suitcase with clothes, we've not got anything.
Okay. And what did you do with all that you had in your home? And
it's there. It's still a space that's giving us a lot of energy, I would say. We do visit once in a while, or the children visit.
And some of it we've given up. I'm a collector of books, old paper cuttings, old magazines, stuff like that. All that went off. Car we gave up, a television network we don't have.
It's just overnight we decided, why do we need a car? So we sold it.
So you sold the car? Oh, wow. Okay.
So we don't have all that. So when we say minimalistic living, it is what you need to, within quotes, survive for the day. You survive for today. कल के बारे में कल सोचेंगे. No, it's not because of the fact, and thanks to the IT world here, okay, Swiggy and Zomato and whatever else that we have, life is not so tough. You don't have to plan for the whole week or the whole month and say, like what our parents used to do. I have to buy grocery for the whole month or, pulses. They don't exist. You pick up the phone, call Instamart, it's there with you in 10 minutes. So it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I know an aunt who used to do this. She used to live alone. And every day morning, she'll get up and go to the sabji market and buy vegetables only that day. Okay. And she'll come back, cook, eat. Khatam. Evening, everything is done. Next day morning, again, she'll get up and go buy vegetables and come.
Yeah, so this is similar like that. Only thing is it's one-time cooking because we do get lunch.
And she would also say, who knows, I'll live tomorrow, right? So she would say such things, but yeah, you know how old people are, right? But I thought it made a lot of sense. Every day you're eating fresh food.
And also it gives you a routine. So especially as like one of the other things, right? When you're in your refired stage, setting a routine for yourself is very crucial. So for example, in Tirupati, our lights off at 9:30. We don't have a choice because the food is available only till 8 o'clock.
7:30.
7:30. And there is no TV. At the best, you're sitting probably chatting with your friends or colleagues or family or whoever. But by 9:30 it's all done.
Yeah.
Batti band. Same here. But yes, we are up at 5, even on a Sunday, even on a Saturday. It's important. So the routine helps. Again, like I always believe in my whatever little we read and study, shows that routine allows your body to say, okay, I can expect this. So when your body is expecting something, it becomes that much more healthier.
You don't shock and surprise your body all the time.
Correct.
Right?
And this is very similar to your finances, right? You want money to come in on the first of every month. And like I always tell people, I'm a God-fearing Madrasi. So first of the month, mein paisa aana chahiye. Then you plan the rest of your life accordingly.
No, this is amazing. So we've covered how mental acuity and we've covered health. So tell me a little more about health. Do you have like a health routine? Do you go for walks? Is that part of your routine?
For at the current time, I wish I could answer that in more detail to say, yes, we have a very good routine of walk, etc., etc.
Okay.
But our health routine is early morning, have good breakfast, 2 square meals a day, pamper yourself once in a while.
I like to meditate, so
Yeah. Listen to
Discourses.
music, discourses, as the case may be. Keep yourself mentally active. Yes, there are times when I wish, like my son or daughter say, you should go for a walk, etc. I'm lazy as a human being.
But
I'm
your
very-
work must require you to move around a little bit.
So my work, yeah, our work requires us to walk up and down a couple of floors,
Yeah, I
go
mean, I
meet
think that's
people. And the other advantage that we have in our work is we work with people who are much younger. So it energizes you. We also work with people who've gone through a lot of challenges to be able to get to where they are because many of them are people with disabilities. So their journey inspires us to say, okay, if they can do that and continue to do it, so can we. So the work atmosphere gives us a lot of pluses as well.
No, I think you're touching upon a very important point about working with younger people. So I do hear many people wanting to move into the senior citizen living facilities where they live with people of the same age or same interests. And there have been conflicting ideas about it. People say, yeah, I mean, at some point you'll get very bored or you won't have enough like young people to move around with. Some people think, yeah, it'd be a lot more comfortable. So what are your thoughts? I mean, has that ever crossed your mind?
It works both ways. The youngsters in a community need to be engaged consistently. If you put it to a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old with senior citizens and they say batti band at 9 o'clock, how will they work? Their life starts at 9. So it's very unfair to say, you don't switch on loud music, don't have a party, etc., etc. But it's a lot of engagement for the senior citizens. It's very useful for them to keep in touch with youngsters, either in their family or friend circle, as the case may be, right? So, no easy answer. We found a method to do that through our work. Sudha does that obviously much more than what I do because
Even younger
yeah,
people.
she's younger, and plus she also works with a lot more of children than what I do.
She deals with a lot more of younger people.
Youth, children, significantly more than what I do. But that's okay. So to each his own.
To each his own. Yeah. No, there are conflicting ideas because people, like how you're saying at 40, 45, they're planning for it. And as part of the plan, should we plan for something like moving to a place like that? So these things come up in conversation. So I was just checking.
One aspect which probably Sudha didn't touch upon is when you're 45 and you want to take the plunge, 95% of people say, यार हाँ करेंगे ना, next year देखा जाएगा. अभी थोड़ा फाइनेंस और ठीक होने दो. थोड़ा ये next year I'm getting a promotion. Let me do that, then I will retire. Let my son or daughter finish their education, then I will see.
Right.
So there's never a good time. All times are good. All times are as convenient or as important as the other. So
and it's also about how much is enough.
How much is enough? Okay.
So you take a stand. Like in all things in career, in life, take a stand. If you're 45 and you say, okay, I'm going to retire today evening and start doing gardening within quotes. guts, thumb chahiye, retire. But, and again, one of the challenges, for example, when I moved into the social sector, right, the organization say, "Well, you will go back to the IT world. People will take you back. Then what will you do?" It required a lot of convincing to tell them that when you are 50, there is no job. You leave the IBMs of the world, nobody takes you back. You are on your own. Therefore, I have to make this successful. So when there is demand on yourself as a human being to make that transition successful, when you are 55, when you are 58, you say, ठीक है ना, अभी है बैंक में पैसा, अभी क्या करना है? It is okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, it's all right. So the standard terms that I hear people to say, it's okay, no, if it is okay. It's okay if it doesn't work. I will try. Yes and no. You
Yes
should
and no.
try. But the trial is to make it succeed. The trial is not to, you are not okay to make it not
Not
successful.
work. Yeah.
And we were pretty clear, like, even I think way back, just after we had our kids and then, the investment in property and everything, we were very clear that by this time, we should be free of loans. By this time, we should have completed our family responsibilities. Like it can be responsibility towards children. No, of course, you've brought into this world. It's not that, you just go and fend for yourself. Whatever, give them the education. And then if at all, like, no, they decide to get married, to ensure that all that is done, responsibility towards parents.
Yeah.
So once all that is in place, and because I lost my parents, my mom 5 years ago, and my dad about 13 years ago. So they were with us during a time when they really needed medical attention. So even my mother-in-law was staying close by, and then it so happened that she decided to go and live in a senior citizens living. So that's a choice. And now she's very happy out there. So we respected her decision. So initially, so all that was, it all took time to settle, because even we were wondering why Amma wants to go over there, like, in Bombay. Then, things just took a turn, everything fell in place. And then we started thinking of ourselves, to be honest. Till then, it was always like, the way we are brought up is, parents and children are priority. So
Right.
once that was like sort of settled, then we thought, okay, now we have to start living life for ourselves. And we found that happiness, the peace, the contentment in this space.
So your parents, I mean, I think that's a very critical one. Children, any day, sooner or later, they will leave the house. So that is fine. But when, as caretakers for older parents, for parents who probably are healthy but old, who need attention, making a transition like this and moving cities, I mean, it's not easy for them to move along. So in your case, you said she chose to move to a senior citizen. Was that triggered by your decisions, or did you make your decisions after she made a decision to move?
Yeah,
So,
what you said later, no?
After she made her decision.
She made a decision in 2020, and in 2021, we had our responsibility where, we went to the US to be with our daughter and son-in-law. When they brought in their daughter into the world, we wanted to be there with them. So, once we got back, then we took this decision. It took a while for us to convince our children that this is what we want to do. Because, they said, why you want to go and, stay? We will give you money. We will support if finance is a problem. Said, no, it's not about finance. It's just that this is what we want to do. Then once they were convinced, then we had all their backing. And to our friends and other family members, initially they were shocked. What is this sort of decision that you've taken? Just like that, relocate from a place like Bombay and go to Tirupati, and you're staying there in one room, you're staying there, and then, leaving a fairly palatial house and getting here. But we said, no, this is somewhere what we want to do.
okay, they came around. Did they come around eventually?
Yes. Now they've just accepted.
So what happens? Do they come visiting you?
Yes, they do. So our son stays in Bangalore.
Yeah.
So he and his wife come over, and every alternate week we meet or they meet, etc. All that happens. So
yeah, but it's also that now, because you're totally engaged and committed for this purpose in life, this is what we want to do. So we prioritize this above anything else. We have so many relatives here as well in Bangalore. So when there are occasions to meet, we will meet. But apart from that, it is time where we think that all these years that we've not really spent that time together. So, maybe just brainstorming or, being soundboards to each other about whatever we want to do and so on and so forth.
So, what is it that you're looking forward to in the days to come?
Continue enjoying life. Continue doing what we are doing.
Travel when we can.
Travel when we can. Have fun. As long as it continues, as long as हाथ पैर चलाते हैं, चलाएंगे.
That's fantastic. Good. Great. See, I mean, this has been an amazing conversation, Sudha ma'am and Shrikant sir. Your journey of refiring and how you went about planning for it and then like you practiced it, right? So, I mean, I was very interested when you said you may try something, it may not work, it's okay. You give it up, try something else, make an effort to make it work. But if it doesn't work, it's fine. You'll always get something else to do. But finding that ikigai is not easy. It's going to take some time. You might have to practice it a few times. So I think that is something that I didn't quite, I mean, while the mental health and health, those are things that I've studied enough about or I've researched enough on. This needs to trial and error on your finding your cause and passion. I think that was a very interesting take on how you went about it. Is there anything that you would like to tell people who are not thinking of retirement, who are well into their 50s, who know they are going to retire, but just live in denial? I
would like to just answer that. One is our life is filled with gratitude. Every day begins with that gratitude that whatever this is a blessing. The way we are living life is also a blessing. That we have life is also a blessing. I lost my brother when he was 52, not an age that he has to go. It was too early. And it so happened that he may have had his aspirations, but he just didn't wake up. So such life when you've seen, at such close quarters. Mm-hmm. In fact, in 2004, we also met with an accident. There was a car accident. It was a very nasty accident. People, the onlookers wondered whether, the people inside are alive or they would be pulling out, bodies. So these are few occasions where we really felt that life is a gift. So we can't take it for granted. So it is about, we are not immortal beings. Every next day or minute or second, we are getting closer to the grave. That is a fact. That is a reality. So it's about like how we are living life. It is also welcoming death. It's not about, getting scared of it. So it is at any moment, any time, it could be your last breath. So fill it with joy, fill it with happiness, fill it with positivity, so that there are no regrets in life.
So that's the spiritual angle of it all. Yeah.
And I would only say, take that decision. There's no right and wrong. You may want to do tabla, somebody else may want to do painting. The others may want to do, like I said, visit temples for architecture purpose. You want to go and spend time in a tent under the stars. You've lived life for 50 years, trying to look for others, trying to take care of others, your family, time you spend for yourself. And that you can't spend that time unless you take a decision.
You don't have to wait for a nasty accident to happen or for losing a loved one to.
Exactly.
To do that.
And another thing, very consciously, I think, cut out television from our life.
I like it.
So, television and news, both.
Yeah, and news. Oh, yeah, news also.
So no newspaper, no television.
So there are no serials that are likely to, create that sort of, even sow a seed of negativity. So these are all very conscious decisions. We don't regret any of them.
Yeah. So our social media is restricted to LinkedIn to see what people are talking about in their work.
Yeah, there is Insta, there is Facebook also.
All of that.
But that's on your face. That's something you can't get rid of. Yeah.
And we know people who got rid of that as well.
Yeah. No, so it becomes more like you're in touch with family to stay on Insta. You just want to know what your cousins are doing. So you're on Insta just to know what they're up to. So
there's also a very strong bias that we both have towards friends, okay? Where we work with friends, we chat with them, we meet up with them virtually or otherwise.
So when you say bias?
It's a strong positive bias. That's what I meant.
Okay.
It's a positive bias where the friends play a big role as well. Okay. And friends can be from your classmates. Like I read a story about your schoolmates being the ones who probably know you much more than even your parents.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. You've been with them from for the last 50 years. Your parents
And
know you for 60,
they've
but
been with you during your most formative years. I think
correct.
that's the most critical.
Your college friends will know you that way, right? So it is not professional friendship,
Yeah.
but it is friendship through thick and thin. So I had schoolmates of mine who called up during our daughter's wedding, and just before when the demonetization happened, they called and said, "Do you need cash? I'm working in a bank. Don't worry about getting you cash. We'll get you all that because we know you have to pay 20 people, and not everything will happen over." It happened literally 1 month before or 1 month after demonetization. So everything doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they stood up and said, let us know if you need. We'll just carry the cash and come and give it to you.
Yeah.
Now, whether we took that or not is a separate discussion. But
Yeah.
that's what stands up. That's what.
Yeah, these are all nurtured relationships that both of us have always.
I completely believe that friendships don't just happen. Friendships have to be nurtured. So you can easily lose touch with friends and then become strangers. Nurturing is necessary in friendship. Like family will stay, but friendships need to be nurtured. Yeah. So I think that's an important part, because as part of the refinement program, these are some things that we talk about, right? Health, physical health, mental health, connections with people, and ability to contribute, and also creative outlet like your gardening and things like that. So there are a few elements that make for successful aging. So that's what research says. It's not something that I came up with. There are a few elements that make for successful aging, and you seem to be ticking off all the boxes. So I'm so glad to have spoken to you today. And I think we will get multiple beautiful snippets from this recording that we can use in little reels talking about specific topics. So I think this has been so valuable. And thank you very much for your time, ma'am, and Shrikant sir. And thank you, Manoj, for making that happen for them. So we have a story to tell them. I'm going to reach out to maybe Manoj's son and tell him that we had this conversation. Yeah, tag him and give them the credits as well. So this is amazing. Thank you, really. Thank you very, very much. I'll tag you when we go online with this recording. And
Thank you.
Thanks very much,
Thank
ma'am.
you, and
Keep
good luck to whatever
refiring.
you're doing.
Thank you so much, and keep refiring and keep inspiring more and more people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful being here.